Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Finding Your Voice. I'm so excited today because I have someone I have met in person only one time, although we connected way before we met through a book that I have written. But I learned about her long before I got a chance to meet her because of her wonderful history in terms of what she's written, what she's done, and I knew all about her, but not her name. So let me introduce you to Pat George. George. Pat, did I do it correctly?
No.
I'm gonna stop.
G or J.
D
G
O
or
O
J.
O G
Or
or
J.
J. I'm gonna stop and we're gonna start over.
Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Finding Your Voice. I'm excited to have a special guest on the show today, someone I got to know who read one of my books, but she had no idea had already researched her and found out about her because I heard all about her through the Christian Book Lovers Retreat. And her name is Pat G or J Walker, and she's a former record industry vet and an award-winning National and Essence Bestselling author, the creator of an award-winning Sister Betty gospel comedy series. That's what I found out about her before I ever knew her name. She is also an award-winning Christian comedian, has written more than 15 books and ebooks, and participated in several anthologies. Pat is published by Kensington Defina Books and currently resides in North Carolina. Oh, somewhere near my friend. So I just want to say welcome to Pat. Thank you for being on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really impressed and blessed, and I didn't know all of that, but it's good to hear.
Girl, it's good to know because again, it's a pleasure to be able to see you kind of in person. So I'm grateful for that because so much of our communications as authors and fellow writers, it's by online, it's by
Yes.
text, it's by messengers. It's nice to be able to see each other face to face. So let's begin our journey with our first question. Um, can you share with the audience what were some of the struggles or obstacles you had? May not have been in the beginning, but I do know there are people who've gotten to the mountaintop of their achievements, and that's when the obstacles happen. So, whatever point it was, just share what point it was and tell us what were some of the things you did to overcome them.
Well, going back a little bit, uh, when I came out of the record industry, I became a manager. So I managed different, R&B singers, and as a matter of fact, I gave Joe his first hit. So
Oh,
I was kind of on a roll there. And I did an album, produced an album with Rough House Records for an artist by the name of Cultidon with the Fugees.
mm-hmm.
Well, we get ready to put it out and whatnot, and all of a sudden I get a call to Columbia Records to come down. And Matthew Knowles, Beyonce's father, tells me, says, you know what? We're not going to put your album out. We have another group we want to put out, Destiny's Child. Now, at that time, I didn't know that was Beyonce's daddy.
Oh, wow.
So he shelved my album to put them out. So I always say Beyonce owes me. So now I'm trying to figure out, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So another friend of mine, uh, LaJoyce Berkshire, who wrote the novel Soul Food, she was doing publicity. I believe it was for Arista Records at the time, and she more or less told me, she said, "Girl, stop complaining. You're always writing little silly stories that you like so much. Just do that until you find out what you're going to do." So I had about 7 short stories from a series I call Sister Betty, God's Calling You. And it was
Uh-huh.
about the low church lady who received a telephone call from God while she's watching soap operas, But she got so excited knowing that Jesus was coming to see her because she's so saved, that she
Right.
to ask him when. So the first story was all about how she, interacted with different people that tried to get her help, but she ain't got time for nobody. She waiting on Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to show that we can't say we love God, who we've never seen, and be so mean and nasty to those we do see. And how are we going to heaven if we can't help nobody? So, but
Right.
I did it as a satire, but I didn't know anything about publishing. So I figured, okay, I'm going to take one of my little short stories, which about 22 pages, I believe it was. And I'm going to put it out as if I was doing an album because in the recording industry, we put out singles
Right.
from the album. So I put out my little, little short story with a staple in the middle. And I said, okay, as much as I hated doing marketing and promotion for the record company, I'm going to use those same tactics
Oh,
on
wow.
for my book. So I started, doing little things like I'd had a soap opera going and just, I got invited to different churches and organizations to do like little monologues and whatnot. Next thing I know, everything that wasn't supposed to happen for a short story happened for that book. It wasn't supposed to go into bookstores because it didn't have a spine. It had a staple in the middle. It went into the bookstores. It wasn't supposed to go into the library because it had a staple in the middle and not a spine. It went into the library. It wasn't supposed to go into distribution houses. Ingram and Sparks picked it up. So everything that was
Wow.
supposed to happen happened. And it just took off in it. And the next thing I know, I had a major publishing deal. So I
Wow.
do it the conventional way, And then another thing, and I think this is very important, at least from my perspective, every character I had in those books was given to me through the Holy Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have like Sister Brown and Mother Mayberry. There was Sister Betty. There was Sister Ima Hellraiser, Deacon Laid Hands, Bishop was never called. Uh, Pastor Bling Mo Bling, what I tried to do was take the whatever I wanted to preach about or
Right.
talk
Right.
about, I gave the character that name to
Right.
say what needed to be fixed or what they need to pray about, and it
Mm-hmm.
just took off. So the next thing I know, I'm going on. I was appearing on cruise ships. I went on theaters, television. Um, all these different conventions and book expo, and I mean it just like all came at one time,
Yeah.
and it
Wow.
just launched. So what I tell people is, don't, when God is ready for you to move, He's gonna make you move. Because I was not happy
Yeah.
with the moment. I don't work on this album all this time, and I'm getting ready to launch. Yeah, I mean, big time, and they're gonna
Right.
put out Destiny's Child.
Right.
So, excuse me. So it was all God.
Yep. I say a lot to God, and my favorite guiding principle is Proverbs 3 and 6. I was taught 3, 5, and 6, but 6 stuck with me in the writing world because it says, "In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he'll direct thy
Yes,
path."
yes,
And the word
yes,
acknowledge in the original language means invite in.
yes.
So I try to invite God into every decision because I'm reminded constantly that I have a list, but God has a list too, and I want to make sure I'm meeting what he has on his list. And like
And
you,
he
you
already
and I
knew your
talked about,
he knew your list was not
yeah,
sufficient.
yes. What about your list?
Mine was so way off.
Yes,
Mine was completely way off. I mean, I had one vision and God had another one. And then he kept putting people in
absolutely.
my in not in my path. At the time I thought he was putting them in my way, but he was putting them in my path.
Yeah,
And there's a difference. Because
yes,
some people I didn't really want to talk to, but I needed because they weren't on my list.
yep. And some
So
people will cross paths. You have no idea why they're crossing paths with you. So I've learned, God, you've caused this person to cross paths. What is your intention regarding our meeting each other? I try to make sure I ask that question and not discount people that cross my path because I don't see the benefit.
and not only that, but I did not like promotion and marketing within the record industry. That was my least favorite thing to do. Even though I got all these gold and platinum records on the wall and all this other stuff, I didn't like it. But everything that I needed to do to
Yep,
make the Ready successful,
yep.
I learned doing that
With the staple in the back of the book.
with the staple in the middle of the book. didn't even have an I. Well, I finally got an ISBN number. Oh, and did I mention I printed it out on my little printer?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was
Wow.
I couldn't keep up with the orders, so it was my attorney at the time who stepped in and had books printed for me in better quality. But the little ragtag books, it was still selling.
That was the one that caused the hit.
It was
I
still selling.
love that. So that was at what point? That wasn't the beginning of your journey. Was that kind of in the middle of everything?
Well, so yes and no, because sometimes life hits real hard,
Yeah.
and it started coming in all different directions. And first, I was working with Jay Dibbs, who
Mhm.
we were writing songs for Vanessa Williams and for
Mhm.
Brian McKnight, and oh, who am I leaving out? A whole bunch of people I forget.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But before that, I was singing with a doo-wop group called the Chantels. So I'm, cause I'm that old. You know, but I used to sing with the Chantels. So we had hits out like "Maybe He's Gone to Plea," and all that stuff.
Right.
And so I kept. It's like playing hopscotch. I'm here on this end 1 minute, and then I'm over there on another end. But at the end of the day,
Right.
everything that I needed helped put Sister Betty out.
Wow. I love it. I love it. So really the moral of the story is just go along with the process and you'll determine that
Favor
God
God
made
with
that
you.
move. God made the move and you had nothing to do with what just happened. He
I know,
did.
right? And then when I listen to everything that's coming out about the recording industry now, I'm laughing because I'm saying, okay, this ain't news to anybody that was in there.
Yeah.
This is not
Yeah.
news. That was
Right.
one of the reasons why I didn't like it, because it
Wow.
didn't feed my spirit. It
Uh-huh.
fed my experience to do what I would need to do later. But
Right.
while there, it was not feeding because I wasn't that type of person. I'll put it that way.
Wow. That's
So
beautiful. Uh, So don't look at what you think might be a hiccup as a hiccup. Let it
yes.
play out because sometimes it's God making a move to really help you. I love that story. I really
Oh, I
do.
was fighting. Oh, I had my fists up all the time. Lord, I people, why you got me over here with these people? I don't
Yep.
like this, because there's a
Yep.
lot of things that you have to say and do that you may be uncomfortable with,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And I praise God, I didn't have to go the route that some of those people went. But what
Oh.
I did have to do, like for instance, I'll give you a good example. You have a record, you want it played.
Hmm.
Now you're going to go to the radio station with a playlist, and you're going to say, I need this played, and they're going to say, well, I need a washing machine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was that type of give and take that I didn't like, but
Right.
I had to do it. But by the same token, I also learned about doing, promotion and street promotions and things like that, things that weren't on that level,
Hmm.
but it still gave me some insight and to be innovative to do other things that were more pleasing to my spirit, but yet
Right.
was just as successful. So,
Well, I grew up in a home of singers. My father and his groups, they recorded 45s back in the 50s. I grew up just sitting down watching rehearsals. And so
mhm.
my family, all of us, except for one brother, were singers, and so I can relate to what I'm hearing from you, watching my father and the things that they had gone through. And I remember going into a record store, finding his song on some other record, and so I had to write the person because my dad is long gone to
Right.
find out who gave them permission, and then contacted the person, the producer, or the recording company who actually recorded it to find out what they had determined. So I noticed that it got pulled,
Oh yeah,
but
because I used to own a recording studio. I
uh-huh.
had a recording studio, and as a matter of fact, Cheryl Pepsi Riley was one of my first clients. I met
Wow,
her when she was 16 years old.
that's beautiful.
So, and my father also was in the music industry. He was one of the platters. So
Wow.
before he became a preacher. Oh, did I
Oh,
mention PK kid too? Both
no.
both parents.
Wow.
Let me say that again. Both parents. So, and that's another reason why I was uncomfortable with a lot of things because, especially my mother. My mother was one of those really saved. I mean, God's best girl.
Yeah. Yes.
God's right hand girl. My mother was so saved that Dr. Velma, I was almost grown before I realized that I used to think that if I didn't want God to know something, don't let my mother find out first. I had it so backwards. That's
Well,
how
how
saved she was.
how about growing up in a saved household that you don't even know anything about secular music because it was never played in your house? If I
Listen,
found out about it, it was when I visited my
yeah.
stepsister,
Yeah.
and she
Oh,
played Slide the Family Stone and those kind of songs. I'm going, well, who is that?
and when American Bandstand was on, we'd have to wait and make sure.
Yes,
Oh yeah,
wasn't going to happen in our household.
mine either. Mine, my mom.
Wow.
My mama did not play that. And the thing about it is that I had one of those mothers who would drop and pray anywhere. She
Hmm.
didn't care if it was in the middle of J.C. Penney's or in the middle of the
Right,
subway. If
right.
the spirit hit her, she was gonna pray.
It was
And
time to pray.
and,
Yeah.
and I'll give you one little short story how that helped my mother. My mother went to a bank in Brooklyn on Atlantic Avenue,
Uh-huh.
East New York Savings Bank. Came out the bank and got kidnapped. They had
Wow.
to withdraw money. My mother got in that car and went to speaking in tongues and prayed. They didn't let her out. They threw her out at the light.
Wow.
She got up, dusted herself
It got
off,
too hot in that car.
checked her money, and went on about her business.
It got too hot in that car. That is
She,
beautiful.
oh, that was my mama.
Hey, that's a beautiful example of the power of God when you operate in that power.
Yeah, but now I found myself doing the same thing. I will stop in the middle of Walmart or any place else, and if somebody
Yep.
needs prayer, I just start praying.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Well, now that we're on this topic, what what can you suggest to others who may be sitting on the sideline and they're unsure of their path? They're just sitting there. We've talked about our journey. You've talked about your journey. I've inserted a little bit of mine. But what do you say to that person who's just sitting on the side? Because even in my beginning stages as a in the literary world, I could have given up by the fact that I didn't find friends or anybody that was willing to help
Mhm.
me. I didn't sign a contract with anybody. I was just trying to understand the direction, the rules, and what I needed to do. But there are people who have an idea and have some great ideas, but are just sitting on the sidelines, unsure of what to do. What would you suggest to them?
Well, first of all, you have to read.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't understand that you can't write unless you read. So
Yep.
you have to read. And I would say give the same advice that Maya Angelou gave to me back in the 70s when I expressed to her at a meeting. As a matter of fact, it was at a theater in Manhattan. We had gone to see The Wiz with Stephanie Mills.
Uh-huh.
Was there. And I had an opportunity to meet Dr. Angelou. And I expressed to her, even at that time, I wanted to write, but I was writing like music and short stories and stuff like that. And what she told me was, when you write, be honest. Now, I
Hmm.
was too enamored of her to ask her, lady, what you talking about? Be honest. What you mean? It took me a while to understand what she meant. And what
Yeah.
she meant was, be you.
Yes.
Don't try to write like somebody else.
Right.
Don't try to take somebody else's shine, and try to make it your own because your readers will know if you're copying someone else.
Hmm.
Now, I have a particular way of writing, so even if my name wasn't on something, they would know. Okay, that's Pat George's story. Because as a matter of fact, I didn't mention it before, but Publishers Weekly and deemed me, or I should say, said that I invented or I created a new genre of fiction, gospel comedy, that it had never been done before. Another thing that God blessed me with, I didn't know. I
There
didn't
you
have,
go.
nobody else was writing stories like that until I started.
That's
I
awesome.
had no idea.
Wow. But you just had to get out there.
I had to get out there. So I would tell people to just read, stick with
Hmm.
what you know at first. Always try to branch out, but you have to get out that baby. Get that baby out. You know,
Yeah,
like anybody, more kids you have, the more experience you get.
that's
Some
true.
good, some bad, you know, but you know what to
Hmm.
expect.
Yes.
So do that. And also I would suggest uh trying to get with people who have your best interests at heart.
Yes.
It's an
Yes.
agent, because I got ripped
Yes.
off. It wasn't all,
Yes.
roses for me. I got ripped
Right.
off royally
Right.
at one time. Which, let me say right now, the agent that I have now, uh, for the last 10 years, is Lisa Woodson with the
Hmm.
Seymour Agency.
Hmm.
And it's like my career just exploded after I got with her.
Uh-huh.
So, and I had to go through, some other things, some other people. I can't call them names because I'm saved
Of
now.
course. Of course. We know they know who they are.
Yeah, yeah, but they out here, and sometimes they're wearing a cross.
Yeah. But you know what? One of the things you said, Pat, is the fact that you have to surround yourself very carefully
Yes.
with the right kind of people. Now, some people call it their tribe, some people call it their inner circle. I, in one of my books, refer to them as wise counsel because these are the people I help to vet my decisions and, bounce ideas off of them
Right.
and trust their responses. And so this brings us to our last question, that what wise counsel, even though you just gave us a really juicy one just a moment ago, would you leave with the audience in terms of a short message, a piece of advice you would give them overall? What would that be? Because the people I surround myself with, that space is expensive real estate. So I don't put that
Yes.
person or those persons in that spot very casually. They've earned that spot in my life. So what wise counsel would you offer them? Would you like to leave the audience today?
Well, just piggybacking off of what you just said, it is very, very important because in this industry, in this life, you're going to have ups and downs. And you're going
Hmm.
to need people, in my case, my tribe, to be there for you. Now,
Yeah.
I went through a situation in 2013 where my husband died in my arms. And I had
Wow.
a book I had to put out, a
Yeah.
comedy book. Now,
Right.
how am I going to, write comedy and I'm grieving?
Hmm.
People that love me came
Yes.
to my defense. Now, no, I won't say
Wow.
defense. They came to support me.
Wow.
And when Sister Betty says I do was put out. And to show you how God works, my
Yes.
husband died from cancer. When I was writing that book
Wow.
before he passed, the character in my book had cancer. And the journey seemed to mirror what I was going to go through.
Right.
I had no idea.
Look at that. Wow.
So if anyone reads Sister Betty says I do, one of the characters, her fiance, actually
Hmm.
goes through what my husband went through, except her fiance didn't pass away.
Right.
And but I had to write comedy. How do you do that? Especially when somebody passes away in your arms. Literally,
Yeah.
I literally saw the light go out in my husband's eyes.
That's heavy. That's really
And
heavy.
I'm still supposed to write comedy.
Yes.
So I would tell people to make sure whether it's something that uh, I don't want to say detriment because it wasn't detrimental. Whether you
Hmm.
have something on the level of that experience or not,
Right.
have the right people. Now,
Right.
take it a little bit further. Have the right people in your family
Hmm.
around you.
Yep.
Sometimes that nonsense can start at home.
That's true.
Trying to put, blocks in your path.
Yeah.
So I don't share everything with everybody in my family.
Me either.
I don't share everything with everybody in my tribe.
Uh-huh.
They find out it's already done.
Yep.
And at the very, very, very least, pray. I cannot, I cannot say that strong enough. Please pray.
Yeah.
Because just like you have aspirations, so does Satan. Only he
Mm-hmm.
aspires you not to make it.
Right.
And he will put that pretty rose right there in your face and it smells beautiful, whatnot, and in the meanwhile, you're looking over here at this daffodil that's not as pretty, but it's the daffodil that you need.
Yep. That's true.
So you have to pray. And when you pray, give thanks in advance. Because
Yes.
also during that time, prior to that, I had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I had cancer at the same time.
Oh, wow.
At the same time, he went through chemo and radiation and stem cell treatment and all that. I never took a pill.
Oh, wow.
Never had radiation. Never had chemo. I had one surgery. They gave me 5 years. I just celebrated uh 14. I think it was
Wow.
14. They gave my husband 18 months. He had 7 years.
Wow.
So, there's going to be all kinds of things that are going to, experiences that are going to be happening while you're trying to do this. That's
Yes.
why prayer and prayer
Absolutely.
and having the right people around you is so important.
Wow. So true. Well, you've had a wonderful, juicy time. I hope you were chewing on all this wisdom that Pat has been laying out today. I hope you took notes, and if not, you'll hit the replay so that you can take notes because what she's telling you today is juicy. You cannot say what she said, and you cannot share what she shared unless you've been there and you've gone through it. And she truly has given you some honest, transparent answers, suggestions, and wisdom that she has laid out today for all of you. So I hope you benefit from it. So, Pat, how can the audience stay connected with you if they'd like to continue to follow you or connect with you? How can they do that?
Well, the easiest way is to go to my website, which is www.sisterbetty, sisterbetty.com, which is also connected or will lead you to www.pgorgewalker.com. So either way, I don't know how they do it, but if you type in one, it goes to the same place as the other.
Okay.
And you can find me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. I'm not on X or Twitter that much because they work my last nerve. But anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. And Facebook, of course. And just type my name in. I'm all over the place.
Wow. I appreciate you today. Pat, it's been wonderful having you on today. I appreciate what you have shared with everyone. I'm taking some nuggets along with me as well. So I hope that you will continue to have a wonderful, blessed day. And thank you again for joining the show.
Well, I have to thank you because, like I said before, you talk about you didn't know about me. I didn't know about you until that first book, and which I stole a few lines out of it and put it in, my little on one of my pages. But Dr.
Yeah.
Bell, I listen. I love you. That first book. I don't care how many other books you write. That first one. That first one. God
Yeah.
bless you. It blessed
That
me.
one, God told me to be transparent and tell about myself. And I'm telling you, I was on something that when I was going through that, especially my initial response, why am I going through all this? God, why are they not on the freeway? I'm in the back of the ambulance going, why are they not on the freeway? Why are they taking? But boy, God opened my eyes because if you notice, nothing in my writing career really took off until after that experience. Whatever
Yeah.
God had to burn off of my life, he got rid of it
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
before I
Girl,
moved into that place of where these
don't
books
start.
really took off.
Don't start. You had to be pruned.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But I fell in love with you with that book. I didn't know how to approach you or anything. Because I didn't know that you were new. It did not seem like you were new. It just seemed like I didn't know. I didn't know about anybody else not knowing. I didn't
Yeah.
know.
In the literary world,
And
coming
it
from
was, oh my
corporate, I was
goodness.
writing all the time. So that was part of my job. That was second nature. But just like the title of this podcast, I had to find my voice after that.
Yes.
When I knew that God wanted me to write about dating relationships, he said, well, you've been blessed with a long term blessed marriage. How do
Mhm.
you need to help others discover that same thing? People are always looking to marry, but they have no clue what it takes to do that. And so God wanted me to start writing about it. And so after I retired, I thought I was going to put all my writing skills in a basket, marked retired. God said, no,
Fooled you. You would
you're not going to
graduate
do
from
that.
college.
So
Yeah.
that's why I said that was the first book I wrote was about conversations I had with my adult daughters about men and
Mhm.
marriage. That book that you wrote me about was the first one I wrote concerning my own personal experience. And when I wrote that, to me, what made me tear up was watching how the graphic designer captured what I wanted to say on the front cover. He did a beautiful job capturing what I needed to say on the front cover. Because yes, we go through the fire, but it's not easy and
No,
comes at a cost. And so I'm glad you enjoyed that. And people
I
who
did.
get to know it even now appreciate what I had to say in that book. And it was only after that that things began to take off. And that's
Well,
what's
I
important.
thank you for that book. I
Ah,
I I I was so happy that you gave me permission after the fact because I did not ask you. I just went ahead and did it and informed you that I did it. That's two different things.
hey, it
But
was
it,
fine. You blessed
oh,
me that day. It was
I had to
perfectly
let
fine.
somebody know. I had to let somebody know about your book.
Wow. That
That
was
was
awesome. Well, that was to me like receiving the Academy Award. See, I don't get caught up in the awards stuff. I really don't. But when
I
a
know.
person comes to me and tells me what you said to me, that to me was my Academy Award. That told me I did exactly what I was supposed to. And if it meant that much to somebody else, then that's exactly what I should have done. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you
I
too.
mean it. Whew, I'm getting chilled just thinking about it. That because there's not a lot of books that I read that hit me like that. But your
Hmm.
book,
Yeah.
it was like, who is this woman?
Yeah. Here she is.
Years later, guess what?
She was finding her voice.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, that's beautiful. That's
Thank you
beautiful.
so much. Well,
Thank
Pat, you have a
you.
wonderful day. I'm going to go ahead and end we went 33 minutes. Maybe
Oh
a
wow.
little bit of that was just the time we had to start over, but that's okay.
That's okay.
We're good. I enjoyed myself. You enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, I did. I am
Wonderful.
so delighted because I've seen your growth.
Ah,
And I, I'm not a jealous person by any stretch of the imagination. I just love to see God show out.
yeah. Yeah.
I
That's so
love
true.
to see Him show out,
Me
and I
too.
show out in your life.
Well, we need more like you for sure.
Oh,
Just
thank.
celebrate. Just celebrate.
Oh yeah.
It's
Oh yeah. Because
no,
what
no
for me,
competition. There's plenty of
it's
work
for
for
me.
all of us to do.
Uh, yeah. Too much for me sometimes. But
Well, I'm
definitely.
going to go ahead and end this. I say thank you. And everybody, I hope that you take what Pat has shared with you today and really allow it to sink in. Have a great day, everyone.